Now in this third section, we'll look at constructive feedback, because there's a nice way to give feedback and there's a not so nice way. So here are 5 C's of review. Be courteous, so don't say this paper was so boring, what were you all thinking? Be considerate, the authors have spent time and money, so don't just say the study has to be done all over again. So try to pinpoint and say what part of the study, how should it be done again. Be clear, so don't say many phrases are not as clear as they could be. That itself is unclear. Be concise, so don't use too many words. The displayed research results that are in nonlinear text format are not of sufficient resolution. Just say something like the figures have very low resolution. And be constructive and helpful. So this isn't helpful. I wonder why the graphs are of such poor visible and scientific quality. Now, asking yourself the question is no good. This is a rhetorical question. The author will find it difficult to answer. They don't know what or how to answer. So to give specific advice that the author can do, I call it 3 P's and 3 S's, or PPP-SSS. PPP is pinpoint the problems, so be specific and give the location of where the problem is and say what the exact problem is. If it happens a lot, then give an example and say it recurs throughout the paper and the author should check. Also explain why it's a problem. And SSS is suggest specific solutions. So be direct but polite and give specific advice, give examples for ideas, and give a reason to motivate the author to do it. And if you can also say whether it's compulsory or whether it's just something that would be nice. It's optional. So here's an example. The bar charts in figure 1 are unclear because their error bars are too light, they're too faint, and they are not defined. I suggest the following, and you can list them. Number 1, make the error bars in figure 1 darker and wider. Number 2, define the error bars in the legend. Are they 95% confidence interval, standard deviation, or standard error of the mean? And figure 1 would then help readers understand figure 2 and the main text about these 2 figures. So that should motivate the author and explain why it's good to make the error bars clear. Turn negatives into positives so it doesn't sound like you're just always telling off the author. So too negative is you shouldn't have launched into the statistical analyses without doing a test for data normality. Not doing that makes the credibility of your findings suffer. So this sounds too emotional and there's too many exclamation marks and it sounds like you're telling the author off. For positive advice, you can say, I noticed the statistical analyses are missing the initial test for data normality. The methods say normality was assumed, but please confirm that assumption with a normality test. So here you're helping the author to make the assumption valid. Now give relevant references. I underline relevant because we don't want citation bias. You don't want to recommend 20 of your own references that aren't relevant just because you want to boost your own citation count. So in the confidential part to the editor, if you suspect something has been copied or duplicated or someone's done the same research or done it better, then please give a relevant reference. Don't just say, oh, the work is unoriginal. In the part to the author, you can give references if there's one missing, a statement needs support, the author's missed some examples or important studies, there's something more relevant and recent that than the reference they've put down, there's an opposite case that they've missed, the method they wrote was actually based on something published, so the full version is available somewhere, or it's not really their method, it's already been published, or if the protocol is needed, then a reference will help the future researchers to find it. There might be a better or different method, or there might be alternative interpretations and explanations. Now, when you comment on language in the same way, don't be too general. So note specific ones. Also, you don't have to correct every grammar mistake, but if they're important enough to put in the point-by-point comments, then you can. For example, if the wrong word has changed the meaning, so clinical trail instead of clinical trial, or unclear, and this typo has made it nuclear. Now, it's very similar spelling, but spell check won't necessarily tell you that you've made a mistake. And tell the author if they've made the same mistake all the way through, then they can do a search and replace. If there's ambiguity, you can tell the author. For example, lecturers often teach students when they are not in the appropriate mindset. Now, the pronoun they could refer to the lecturers or the students, or even both. So you can ask the author to clarify. Or if they've made an error in, for example, an author name in the citation in the text or in the reference list, and you've noticed it, then you can help them correct that. Now, for general language mistakes, or it's all the way through the manuscript, don't just say the manuscript needs editing. Again, give examples so the reviewers and editors will know what you mean, and also the authors will know what you mean. So the manuscript would benefit from professional editing because, but don't say the language is poor, that's too vague. Or Nehonium is should say Nehonium are. In this example, the reviewer has created a mistake, so don't correct something into an error and use that as advice. Now, this is better. So because readability is reduced throughout by very long sentences and repetition, give an example. And there are many grammar mistakes. Give example. Studies is, we concludes, and informations in the abstract.